You remember this famous picture? This was at a Black Lives Matter protest. This child, along with his 5 siblings, was used as a prop, as a social justice meme, to satisfy his white lesbian adopted mother's appetites for progressive validation. Him and his 5 siblings were a fixture at these protests. What the public didn't know was the fact that children were being abused by these women. And when that horrific abuse was to be exposed, his mothers drove off a cliff with all 6 kids in the family car. All of them died.
On March 26, 2018, an SUV was spotted in the Pacific Ocean, 100 feet below a cliff in Northern California.
Officers described this scene with no traces of stopping at the edge as unlike anything they'd witnessed before.
Investigators say Jennifer and Sarah intended to kill themselves and their 6 kids. They discovered Sarah used her phone to make some disturbing searches in the days before they died, including drowning, hypothermia, and death by Benadryl. Sarah's body was found to have deadly levels of Benadryl in her system, and at least some of the children had it in their systems too.
Jennifer and Sarah Hart, both originally from South Dakota, were a married couple who portrayed an image of progressive, loving parents who had opened their hearts and home to 6 African American children. These children, Marcus, 19, Hannah, 16, Devont, 15, Abigail and Jeremiah, both 14, and Sierra, 12, were all adopted from the foster care system between 2006 and 2009. The family, self-dubbed the Hart Tribe, frequently moved between US states, living in Minnesota, Oregon, and finally settling in Woodland, Washington, often appearing at social justice events. Reports of neglect, malnutrition, and physical abuse followed the family over the years as they moved from state to state. In particular, Devont Hart became a symbol of the Hart family's public persona after a 2014 photograph went viral, depicting him tearfully hugging a white police officer during a Black Lives Matter protest in Portland, Oregon. The Harts used social media as a tool to portray themselves as a close-knit, happy family. They travelled often, engaged in activism, and seemed to be raising their children in an environment of love and social awareness. When questioned about these allegations, Jennifer claimed family problems were, quote, as a result of others not being tolerant of lesbian mothers raising African American children. Jennifer claimed the children often acted out due to being, quote, drug babies.
It's now been a year since the Hart family plunged over the cliffside off Highway 1, hundreds of miles from their Clark County home. And today at the coroner's inquest, officers described this scene with no traces of stopping at the edge as unlike anything they'd witnessed before.
I've responded to quite a few collisions on the coast area and vehicles down the cliffs, and it was very unusual to have no evidence of any kind.
The testimony included several graphic details of the conditions of each recovered body, the process of recovering them.
The vehicle got brought straight up and flipped onto its roof, so unfortunately it got more damaged, and then I saw one of the decedents that was in the driver's seat fall from the vehicle along with a bag.
Much of the day was spent with forensic pathologist Dr. Greg Pizarro, who methodically worked through the lacerations and the broken bones. He said based on his toxicology report, the driver, Jennifer Hart, had an alcohol level above the legal limit, and also confirmed several other family members had unusually high amounts of Benadryl in their system, including a toxic level for the other parent, Sarah.
It appears that it's well beyond the recommended therapeutic dose. Is that correct?
That's correct.
That's fair to say.
The day concluded by beginning to document the multiple times the Harts had been reported to Child Protective Services, including in Clark County by their neighbors in the days before the family died.
Despite appearances, friends of the Harts say they were wonderful parents and that the crash could not have been intentional.
They put their heart and soul into raising a beautiful family and taking care of this planet and taking care of the animals. They are just some of the most beautiful beings, and I know they're still here with us in spirit. We were such a great, and still are, a living legacy of bringing our people together and the importance of community and the importance of racial equality and the importance of freedom.
Every memory I have of them is just a big hug.
They were that really bright kind of presence. It was pretty hard to miss them. Any event that I was at where they were, if I had a camera, I was of course attracted to that.
There was something about this family, Sarah and Jennifer Hart, and those 6 adopted children that photographer Zippy Lomax was almost immediately captivated by.
I was inspired by them. They gave me hope.
She first met them at the Beloved Festival in Tidewater, Oregon, taking these pictures of the kids, their smiles lighting up the lens. She did capture that same spirit at that Bernie Sanders rally at the Moda Center, Devontae holding that free hug sign, strangers embracing him.
It was such a beautiful moment, and for all of us who know them, we saw just the Devontae that we know, of course.
She says their adoptive parents did everything to give those kids a stable life, raising them to be smart, unselfish, and passionate young adults.
Jen and Sarah really were the kind of parents that I think the world desperately needs.
They both decided that this was going to be the end.
Help them rejuvenate and help teach them language and help teach them how to be here with community.
He goes on to say that their parents turned their life around, giving them the outlet of music.
I believe in joy. I believe in great things.
This, one of many songs Max and his band produced with the Hart family. He says this message fits them perfectly.
They really found the goodness in everybody. And I hope that we can all really learn a really beautiful lesson in that and carry that legacy on.
I believe we all have good hearts.
Bakhtiar says she still has questions, and she's not convinced that the woman she knew could be capable of intentionally driving her family off a cliff.
If it was dark, if it was an accident, if there was a chance that she didn't know what was going on, if there's, if there was a chance that she just didn't know what was going on, that she thought she was somewhere that she wasn't, and she was just moving on forward.
Bakhtiar also wants investigators to prove that the children weren't being starved or physically abused by releasing the results of the medical examinations. Bakhtiar says the friend she knew loved those children and loved her wife deeply. She says even if this was an intentional crash, she does not believe that there was a pattern of abuse in the Hart home, even if Child Protective Services reports suggest otherwise.
Abigail Hart, who was at the time just 6 years old, told her teacher she had owies on her back and stomach. She told the teacher, quote, "Mom hit me," according to court records. The teacher then lifted Abigail's shirt and discovered bruising from her chest down to her belly button, as well as her back. Abigail told Detective Larry and a county social worker that Jennifer had gotten angry with her about a penny. This caused Jen to take Abigail to the bathroom, put her hands around her neck, and shove her head in cold water, as well as hit her with her fist. In April of 2011, Sarah pled guilty to a misdemeanor charge of domestic assault. She only received a 90-day suspended sentence and a $300 fine. This wasn't the first abuse allegation against the Hart women. The first allegation came in 2008 from Hannah. She told a social worker and authorities that Jen had struck her arm with a belt, leaving a bruise behind. While being interviewed in November of 2010 about the now second abuse allegations, Jen and Sarah skewed the conversation to make themselves out as victims. They said they got funny looks from neighbors and churchgoers, and that their kids were picked on at school. Alexandria, Minnesota had a population of 11,070 people in 2010, and 96.3% of them were white. It's fair to say that the white lesbian couple was probably getting some looks when walking around with their 6 adopted black children. But it's also fair to say that they probably wanted to move because this was their second abuse case against them.
Yeah, there's some kids that I feel is being highly abused, and I can't wait until Monday in Woodland, Washington.
Okay, and what's going on there?
Well, they have 4 black children, which that part doesn't matter, and they're new here in Texas. But the other night, a little girl jumped out of the second-story window on the roof and then down onto the ground and ran to my daughter, and this is like 2 in the morning, begging them to help her, But the more I sit on it, I just can't live with it. Somebody's got to go there and check on these kids.
And so how old was the little kid that did that ran to your daughter's house?
About 12 years old, 13. And when they came looking for her, she was begging my daughter not to let them know she was there. And then eventually my son-in-law let them know. And then she had all 4 of the kids come back later and to say everything was okay, and they were all standing at attention like they were just scared to death. And I think there's something very serious going on there. And they're here from Texas. The kids might even be kidnapped. I'm very concerned for these kids. I just can't let this go any longer. Those kids, I think, is in very serious danger.